Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome to the bonus show. Another great story here about our wonderful war on drugs and what our agencies are doing in the name of that war. The U.S. government, the Department of Justice, just had to pay a woman $134,000 in a settlement after she sued them for stealing her private pictures to set up a fake Facebook account, fake Facebook profile in her name so that DEA agents could catfish drug dealers. So let's walk through this one. She was, I guess in 2010, her name is Sandra Arquette, not sure how you pronounce the last name. She went by the name Sandra Prince. She did not have a Facebook profile. And she discovered this because a friend of hers asked about photos that she'd been posting, including a picture of her like with her legs spread on a BMW in her underwear. And she obviously said, what? I don't have a Facebook account. That's not me. So she discovered what was happening there. And so her cell phone was confiscated when she was arrested at one point by a DEA agent who then took pictures off of her phone, and created this Facebook profile with her name using her pictures, and then basically started contacting people that he suspected of being involved with drugs, people that she had on her contact list on the phone, and, other people that they just knew were involved with her in one way or another. How insane is this? I mean, this is one of the craziest things I've heard on the war on drugs.
It is absolutely ridiculous. And it's not only an example of just overstepping the boundaries of what's right and proper, but it's also an example of when you see very involved ways in which people are entrapped or ways in which people are kind of coerced by police into doing something illegal, we really have to question the validity of that. And we've talked about extreme stories where people have been convinced by undercover FBI agents who are supposedly covering or investigating environmental kind of like eco-terrorism. People end up starting to plan actions that they would never even have thought of if it had not been for the encouragement of an undercover agent and the undercover agent offering to get the resources together. And really, you have to say, what's the value? Because it doesn't even seem like this is a person who would have done this had we not gotten involved. And I recognize that's a little bit different than this story. But yes, I mean, just yet another piece of evidence about how forced and wasteful the war on drugs is.
Yeah, it is incredible. So what happened, of course, was there was a settlement. So the lawsuit was thrown out. And I think that's kind of a dangerous thing, too. The Department of Justice has not admitted to any wrongdoing, nor will they be found guilty of it because there's a settlement. So that's pretty bad. Here's some good news. Google and some other companies, Fidelity Founders Fund and some others, have just agreed to invest $1 billion in SpaceX, in the SpaceX internet satellite venture. And this is obviously is a great thing. They're really pushing forward with this.
And some of the headlines were a little deceptive, Lewis, where they made it seem as though the investment was in going to Mars or something like that. But it's directly related to the recent announcement by SpaceX that they're looking to do this a network of satellites that will provide high-speed internet. I think the goal is very high-speed internet for the entire planet, right?
I don't know how high speed it will be, but at least a decent speed that the whole planet will have access to. That is the plan, and it's a great plan. I hope it happens. So at the same time, recently, what's his name from Virgin, Branson, said that he wanted to basically do the same thing. So I wish they would work together instead of competing. But it seems like Branson wants to accomplish the same thing, and and Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook has discussed a drone approach to internet. But it seems like in one way or another, this is going to happen eventually, and we will have internet for everyone. Hopefully, at not much of a cost.
This is just huge. I mean, the ideas that Elon Musk's companies are putting into action are really great. And I know that we can all find things about Elon Musk that we probably don't like, but his contributions through Tesla, his contributions potentially now with this idea through SpaceX, the guy really, as a modern entrepreneur, is doing a lot of very interesting stuff.
Yep, I'm a big fan. I'm glad we have him. In other news, he announced recently that he's going to build up a track or some type of testing system for the Hyperloop idea in Texas. I guess that's the new thing. And I think some universities will be involved. And he plans on trying to have, students and universities help create the best possible pods for the Hyperloop.
And just for people who don't remember, the Hyperloop is this concept for high-speed transit that I believe Hyperloop would depend on lack of friction, right? Is it similar to the evacuated tube transport model?
I think the idea is that it will be either a vacuum tube. I think that was the original idea, a vacuum tube, or possibly maybe magnetic.
Okay.
But it's going to be one of those two. I'm pretty sure. Yes. So that's the plan there, and I hope that happens in Texas. It'd be interesting to take a look at that once it's in production or completed. But I think we're still pretty far from having access to a Hyperloop. Unfortunately, we may have satellite internet for everyone before that happens. Beer review time. 2 weeks in a row. Are you excited about this?
Very.
All right. So I went out last night, and let me issue a warning. As everyone knows, I do not sleep well when I drink, and I wanted to test this beer. It looked really good. It's a pretty good sized bottle, and this stuff is like over 11% alcohol, and I slept terribly. So I'm not in good shape today. But anyway, Epic Brewing is the name of the brewery, and I had not heard of them. And I guess they are based in Salt Lake City. And from what I've read, they have been around for quite a while.
So we may be dealing with Mormon beer here.
It's possible, but I really doubt it because they don't drink. But I'm sure some of them drink. There are probably Mormons who drink. They just don't tell anybody. So they had a beer called Brainless Belgian. And they took that and they changed it and they released this called Brainless on Cherries. So it's a beer here, and I wrote down what they did to it because I had to read it online. They added cherry puree and then aged it in red wine casks for a secondary fermentation. So there's a lot of flavors in this. There's a lot happening. And I guess this is a pretty limited release. There were only a few thousand of these released. And there was another one I saw that had something to do with apples. Also limited release. And so try to get out there and get this soon. But it smells like a wine. It's when you taste it, it's just kind of like sweet and sour because it's strong. There is a lot of sweetness, but there's also a lot of that wine flavor and the sourness from the cherries. And the influence from the wine barrels is huge. It's very pronounced. The cherry is pretty subtle. I think it just kind of blends in well. It's it's there. Very strong, like I said, 11%. So maybe share it with someone, or if you drink regularly or are not affected the same way I am by alcohol, if you don't need the sleep or if it doesn't mess with your sleep, go nuts, pound the whole thing. The aftertaste, first you kind of really taste the wine, and then you can taste the wood. But it's pretty refreshing, pretty good. You don't really notice that it's so strong.
What's the price point on this beer?
This was up there. It was, I believe, around $13.
I had a feeling that this might be an expensive beer. I mean, it is essentially four beers, right? I mean, it's like buying four light American beers.
Yeah, it's like drinking 4 light beers in one. And limited release, really well made, good beer. So yeah, it's pretty expensive. I mean, I there's a bar I could have gone to. I could have had, you know, I don't know, 4 Lone Stars and paid $8, and you know, still not match this. But
It sounds interesting, but I don't know. You know, usually the beers that people describe as being kind of like red wine are not beers that I like.
You probably, yeah. I don't think you would like this one. This a lot of the beers recently I've reviewed have that kind of sour taste, and this one with the wine is no exception. But
I'm guessing it's not that easily drinkable, right?
I found it to be pretty easily drinkable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did. Everyone's different, but Brainless on Cherries is what it's called. Epic Brewing. I'm going to look into more beers from them because I was pretty impressed. So I'm going to see what else they have in their catalog, if you will.
I think it would be very interesting, Lewis, to do a taste test with cheap beers like Coors, Bud Light, Stella. You know, just pick a few of these. We put them in little cups, and you have to be blindfolded because you may start inferring from the color as to which is which, and then just say which one you like the most, and then we figure out which one it is. Although I'm guessing that you already know which one of those light, cheap beers you like the best, probably.
Yeah, or we could go even cheaper. I mean, that is like middle range right there. I mean, Bud Light is sure it's crappy beer, but there's much cheaper, you know, price wise. But also, you know, I would need to get someone to help me with that, and you know, I can't do that with you, obviously. So we need to work out the logistics there.
Yeah,
but I
we'll
would
figure it.
certainly be open to that.
All right.
Yeah, I would do that. I think that would be fun. A blind taste test of either medium range popular beers or shit beers that are just really cheap. I would do either. So we'll look into that and we'll see.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.